Okay, hi everybody. Happy Monday. We are going to be talking about something new today. So, our topic for this week is quadrilaterals. So, we're going to kind of go through this PowerPoint together, and I'm going to kind of talk about some things that are important. So, what is a quadrilateral? It is any geometric figure that has exactly four sides. Quadrilaterals can fall into three different categories that we're going to talk about. So, a geometric figure that has four sides. So, not a triangle, not a circle, not a hexagon, not a octagon, none of those things. Four sides. So, that's going to be your squares, rectangles, rhombuses, diamonds, kites, things like that. But we can categorize quadrilaterals into three different categories. So, the first one we're going to talk about is parallelograms. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral with two sets of opposite sides that are equal in length and are parallel. So, what that means is if you look at, say, this green shape, for example, it is a rectangle, we know that. But if you look at this shape, the opposite sides are both equal in length and they are parallel, meaning that if you kept drawing them out, they will never cross. They're never going to intersect. Hence the parallel of parallelograms. Okay, same thing over here. This side and this side are both equal in length, they're the same length. And if we kept drawing them out and draw this one out, they are never going to cross. Same thing on top. If we draw this one out and draw this one out, they are never going to cross. So parallelograms are probably the easiest ones to find. So two sets of opposite sides that are equal in length and are parallel. Now the next one we're going to talk about is a trapezoid. A trapezoid is a quadrilateral with exactly one set of parallel sides. So in this green shape, the parallel sides are the top and the bottom, meaning if we kept drawing them out, they are never going to cross. With the red shape, it's also going to be the top and the bottom. If we kept drawing this out and draw this one out, it is never going to cross. So if we were to look at the sides, if we draw this line up and draw this line up, at some point, since they're kind of slanted, they are going to intersect at some point. So those sides are not parallel, but it does have the top and the bottom that are parallel. So it is a trapezoid. The third type of quadrilateral we're going to talk about is a trapezium. So we talk about a trapezium meaning it is a quadrilateral, so it has four sides, but it doesn't have any sets of parallel sides, meaning that each one of its four sides will cross with another side. So if I were to draw, these two are already almost crossing. If we were to draw this side out and this side out, they are going to cross. They are opposite sides. This side and this side. If we were to draw them out, they are going to cross. If we were to draw this side and this side out, they are going to cross at some point. So opposite sides are going to cross, meaning that they are not parallel. So that is a trapezium. So those are the kind of funky looking shapes like a kite or this little arrow type thing or this kind of weird green shape. Those are trapeziums. They don't have any parallel sides. So we talked about our main topic is quadrilateral, a shape with four sides. That can be broken down into three different categories. Parallelogram, two parallel sides. Trapezoid, one parallel side. Trapezium, zero parallel sides. So a parallelogram can be broken down into rectangle, rhombus, or square. Those are different types of parallelograms, okay, which we're going to talk about in a second. So a parallelogram is a quadrilateral with two sets of opposite sides that are equal in length and are parallel. So, based on our definition, which of the following figures are parallelograms? Remove all of the shapes that are not parallelograms. So if we look at this one, we know that this is not a parallelogram because if we draw out our lines of our opposite sides, they are going to end up crossing eventually. They're not straight up and down. But our top and bottom are straight across. So it has one set of parallel sides. We know that a parallelogram has two sets. So this shape right here is not a parallelogram, okay? Same thing over here. If we were to draw these sides out, we would be able to see that the opposite sides are going to cross eventually. Or with our kite, our green shape right here, we are able to see that the remaining shapes are going to be our parallelograms. They have two sets of parallel sides, and they are never going to intersect, and they have equal lengths. Parallelograms can be broken down into three categories. So, parallelogram is a quadrilateral with two sets of parallel sides. We can break this down into rectangles, which is a parallelogram with opposite sides that are congruent. Congruent means equal. So, opposite sides that are equal and four right angles. They each have four right angles. A rhombus is a parallelogram just with four congruent sides. It doesn't talk about the angles. Okay? Well, I'll show you what the angles are in a second. So we're going to sort each parallelogram into these two new categories. So a rectangle is going to be you guys know what a rectangle looks like. It has its opposite sides are equal or congruent, and it has four right angles. So the corner pieces are going to be right angles, so they can easily make that little square. So I think you guys have learned right angles before, but basically it means it comes to a perfect point. It's a perfect 90-degree angle. Now with a rhombus, we're going to look at two rhombuses. These are not perfect points. This is a little bit less than 90 degrees. This is a little bit bigger than 90 degrees. So same thing here, less than 90, a lot greater than 90. So they have parallel or congruent sides, meaning that all four sides are equal, but they do not have right angles. So that's the difference between a rectangle and a rhombus. Now, squares, this orange square and the yellow square, both of these can be considered rectangles or rhombuses. So if we look at the definition of a rectangle, it says a parallelogram with opposite sides that are congruent. So the sides of a square are equal, and it has four right angles. So squares can fall into the category of rectangles, but squares can also fall into a category of parallelogram because they have four equal sides. They can also be put into their own category. So parallelogram with four congruent sides and four right angles. So remember that word congruent means equal. Congruent means equal. Okay, so squares can be their own category as well. So a square can be a rectangle or a rhombus, but a rectangle cannot be a square, and a rhombus cannot be a square. But a square can be a rectangle, and a square can be a rhombus. So it's a little confusing, but we'll work on it. Don't get confused. Just so you know that a square can fall into a lot of these categories of a parallelogram, okay? So these two shapes up here are going to be rhombuses. So remember, parallelograms include shapes like these, so they're just regular shapes, rectangles, rhombuses, and squares. So that is what a parallelogram looks like. Okay, which of these figures belongs in multiple categories? Well, we just talked about that, a square. Squares can be called squares, but they also fit into the rhombus category, but they also fit into the rectangle category, but they also fit into the parallelogram category. So squares are going to be the figures that can be represented in multiple. Now, I know this is a lot, guys, so bear with me, but we are going to sort the remaining quadrilaterals into the two categories below. So a trapezoid has one set of parallel sides. A trapezium has no parallel sides. So this red shape right here, we know that it has one set of parallel sides. The top and the bottom are parallel, which means it is going to be a trapezoid. This right here, we can already see no parallel sides, trapezium. This right here, no parallel sides, trapezium. Same thing with this one. No parallel sides. They're going to intersect at some point. Trapezium. And this one, this last one right here, top and bottom are straight, meaning that they are parallel, and they are going to be a trapezoid. So those go in their little categories, and that is it for today. So I'm going to leave you on that note. Please, please, please watch this video more than once. These can get a little confusing, so we are going to continue with this tomorrow. It's probably going to be something similar like this tomorrow. But yes, please make sure you are getting your Google Forms done and that you are practicing on IXL as well. All right, bye guys.